Heartily welcome to all of you on our YouTube channel CS Ansar. I'm speaking Stella from the CS Ansar. So today we are going to talk about a business communication playbook 10 smart rules. For that our guest is the CA Mitika ma'am. Thank you so much ma'am to joining us and also giving your valuable time. Before we further ado, I have a smallest request to all of you those who are watching us to subscribe our YouTube channel and do not forget to like, share and comment. Now ma'am, I would like to invite you to share the thoughts on the today topic.
Thank you so much, Stella, and greetings, everyone. How often have you said noted and still left away with different perceptions? Have you ever attended a meeting and still unclear about the next actions to be undertaken? There are numerous questions like this. So, in continuation of our sessions on business communication, in today's session, we will learn about how our messages are not just sent, but we also ensure that our messages are understood the very first time using our business communication playbook and its 10 smart rules. Along with it, we'll also look at some of the do's and the don'ts of the business communication with some practical examples. So let's hop in. So, what does the first rule say? Be clear and purpose driven. Define why we are communicating. Are we passing on any information? We are making any persuasion? We are making any decisions or any actions requires to be taken. Always remember to stick to one key message at a time and avoid use of jargons unless and until it is understandable by the audience. Let's see some practical examples. We are making a meeting communication and we just phrase it as let's discuss the project. Unclear communication. Let's make it clear and purpose driven. The purpose of this meeting is to finalize the project timeline and assign responsibilities. Next is we are giving an instruction to the team and we just term it as submit the report soon. Just submit the report. What timeline, which report, what deadline, nothing specified. So it is unclear communication. Now let's make it purpose driven and rephrase it as please submit the monthly sales report by Friday 4 p.m. Using the shared Excel format. Let's take another example. Our presentation slide statement says this slide talks about growth. What growth? Revenue, expenses, nothing specified. Again, unclear communication. Let's make it purpose driven and rephrase it as this slide highlights Q3 revenue growth, drivers, and next quarter action points. Purpose driven. Now we are communicating with our client and we just term as we'll get back to you shortly. Unclear communication, when, for what purpose, with what precision we'll get back to the client. Let's make it purpose driven and rephrase it as we will share the revised proposal by Thursday, 12 noon for a review. So, clear and purpose oriented. So, what is the key takeaway from rule number 1? Always remember, every business message must clearly state the purpose, action required, and the timelines. I'll repeat, every business message must clearly state the purpose, action required, and the timelines. So, this concludes our rule number 1. Let's dive to rule number 2, which says know your audience. Remember our previous session on business communication, in which we had talked about the 7 C's of communication? And out of those 7 C's, we had one important one, which was to make our communication considerate. And what was that? That our communication must always be recipient oriented. Yes, know your audience whenever you are communicating. Tailor your messages based on who you are communicating with. Adapt your language, your tonality based on the role of the person, whether you are referring to a manager, a client, or a team member. With the knowledge level, you're talking about the cultural background that particular person has. Always keep those things in your mind. So the focus must always be what is relevant to them, not what you want to say. Let's see some practical examples in which we are communicating the same message but to a different audience and what differentiates its message. Let's say we're communicating our Q2 revenue to the senior management. How do we phrase it? Q2 revenue increased by 12%. Focus areas are cost control and market expansion. Now, the same message is to be communicated to the team members. Then we say, Our Q2 performance improved due to better work follow-ups and faster closures. Let's continue the same approach. Now we're communicating to the client regarding a project. The second example, and the project, we phrase it as the project will be delivered by 30th March, meeting all agreed specifications. Now the same thing to be communicated to the internal team. How do we make it? Deadline is 30th March, as we have already proposed a client that the project would be given by 30th March. Design to be closed by 20th March and testing by 25th March. Same message, different audience. Now we are communicating with an external partner regarding their partnership. How do we phrase it? We value our partnership, look forward to continue collaboration. Now the same information is to be passed on to the internal team. How do we do that? Focus on timelines and coordination to meet partner expectations. So, what is the key takeaway from rule number 2? Adapt your message based on audience role, expectations, and understanding. I will repeat, adapt your message based on audience role, expectations, and understanding. Now let's come to rule number 3. And the rule number 3 says use the right channel. Remember, definition of communication, we have a sender, we have a recipient, we have a message, and we have the channel in which we want to send our message. So always use the right channel. How do we do that? Choose the most appropriate medium to deliver your message for clarity and impact. Always remember, complex and emotional issues should be handled only by emails, not by instant messages. Remember our first session on the business communication, in which we have talked in elaboration about the business communications via emails and via WhatsApp. Kindly refer if you have any confusions. Now let's see some practical examples. Now, if we have to deliver any urgent message, we should avoid emails. We should always prefer phone calls or WhatsApp. On the contrary, if we are to give a non-urgent message, email is the best way to do. For a detailed information, always avoid voice notes or short messages. For a crisp information, always the WhatsApp or text messages are preferred. Suppose we are to give any quick clarifications. So how do we do that? Instant messaging, obvious. And what to avoid? Long emails. Now, during a group communication, what is to be avoided? Multiple one-to-one messages. What should be the right channel? It should be a meeting call or a team call. Now, whenever we are making any formal communications, what should be avoided? The informal chat platforms. And what should be preferred? The official memos and the official email. I beg your pardon on that. So, what is the key takeaway from rule number 3? The right message through the wrong channel can be catastrophic. I'll repeat, right message through the wrong channel could be catastrophic. We go way down. So, this concludes our rule number 3. Let's talk about rule number 4. What does it say? Be concise and structured. Say what is needed in a logical order. Always remember to use minimum but impactful words. Use short sentences, bullet points, and always make your structure clear by context, key message, and the action required. Always keep that in mind whenever we are making any business communication. Avoid any unnecessary information and the information overload. Let's see some practical examples. Like, say we are giving a meeting update and we phrase it as the project is mostly done. Some issues are there and we'll try to finish soon. Which project? What issues? By when? Nothing specified. Like, make it concise in structure. We are giving in bullet point that the status is 90% complete. What is pending? It is the testing approval, and ETA is Friday. Structured and concise. Now we are passing on instruction to the team, and we say, please ensure that the report is prepared properly and sent to all concerned person. So, is it structured? No. How we make it structured and concise? Again, we will use the bullet point and we say the document is the monthly sales report and the recipients are the sales head and the finance head, and the deadline is Monday 4 p.m. Now let's have a presentation slide content in which it says the slide explains what factors that contribute to the growth of the last quarter. But which factors? What is the contribution? Nothing is specified. Let's rephrase it as Q3 growth drivers. That's our heading. And it says increase client retention, improve turnaround time, and targeted marketing campaigns. So, again, the key takeaway from rule number 4, that is, clarity improves when information is brief and logically arranged. I'll repeat, clarity improves when information is brief and logically arranged. That clears our rule number 4. Let's talk about rule number 5. Practice active listening. Always remember, listen to understand, not to reply. Listen to respond, not to reply. Ask clarifying questions if you have any doubts, and always acknowledge the speaker's point of view before we are responding. What is the resultant for this? We have fewer understandings and a strong relationship. Let's see some practical examples. Like during a client discussion, we said, yes, yes, we'll handle it. Did we listen to the client properly? Did we give that person a solution? No. So, how do we rephrase it? So, your priority is faster turnaround without increased cost. Specific, contextual. Have I understood clearly? That is my clarifying question to the client. Let's say we are sharing an issue with a team member and we just say, okay, noted. Now, what have we noted? Nothing clear. So, how do we do that? You are saying the delay is due to dependency on the approvals. Let's identify how we can speed up the process. Now, very important, conflict situation. We just term the person as you're overreacting. Did we listen? Yes, we did. But we listened just to reply, not to respond. How do we rephrase? I see this is a frustrating for you. Let me understand what led to this. We are being open. Remember our discussion on ordinary communicator and professional communicator. So, what should be our objective? To enhance ourselves from being an ordinary communicator to the professional communicator. And how do we do that? We need to have openness toward different mental maps of the people. Now, let's during a virtual communication, the person is silent in calls and doing multitasking, it shows disinterest. So, how do we improvise? So, we can put up questions like just to confirm we are aligned on the revised deadline on Tuesday, right? Ask clarifying questions, acknowledge. So, what is the key takeaway for rule number 5? Listen to understand, which is more powerful than listening to reply. I'll repeat, listening to understand is more powerful than listening to reply. That concludes our rule number 5. Let's approach to rule number 6. What does it say? My non-verbal communication. Again, for a detailed understanding on this, please refer to our previous session on business communication. Here we'll just talk in a precise manner. Be aware of your body language, the facial expressions, postures, tonality, gestures while communicating. Always remember, right thing said in a wrong tone. Right thing said in a wrong tone would be perceived in a different way than wrong thing said in the right tone. People are always longing to approach or grab the things which are said in a proper tone. So please mind your tonality whenever you are passing any message. Maintain proper eye contact, use positive body language, avoid slouching on chairs like this, looking here and there. Please, these are the improper non-verbal cues. So always match your facial expressions with your tone and message. I say, good morning, everyone. So today I'm presenting the report on this. What is happening? I'm seeming disinterested. I'm trying to avoid my audience. What we should say instead, and how do we present it? Good morning, everyone, with full of energy, with full of smile, and a smile on your face. It shouldn't be very much excessive smile. Avoid doing that. So, limited smile, composed body postures, and a good tonality. Let's see some examples. Like during an eye contact, if you avoid eye contact, so it shows that the person is disinterested. So always maintain your neutral eye contact to show that you are confident and you are attentive during the conversation. Now, frowning, giving blank faces, so these all make the speaker disinterested. So always note whenever you are being provided any information so that the speaker gets the idea that you are perceiving it. Again, I have said slouching or leaning back during the meetings is not to be done. It is a negative non-verbal cue. So sitting upright, body straight, that is shows your confidence. Gestures, excessive hand movements, like doing like this continuously, or just keeping things like this, moving your hands regularly, so that is to be avoided. Always try to have controlled hand gestures to impact your conversations. Tonality of the voice, we have just confirmed on it as well. Now during virtual communications, always keep your cameras on, posture straight, and clear expressions. So what is the key takeaway for rule number 6? What you don't say often speaks louder than what you do. I will repeat, what you don't say often speaks louder than what you do. Let's go to rule number 7, which is encourage feedback and follow ups. So, always be open to the feedbacks and contain it as constructive feedbacks. It is a person's viewpoint, but it should be up to you how you take it. So always keep your feedbacks, criticisms as positive ones. These are always your point of growth. So always invite responses, confirm understanding, and ensures actions that are tracked and closed. Always ask, is it clear, or any questions are to be done. Next, confirm understanding of the next process, next steps, and always document key decisions and responsibilities. Like, say, after a meeting, we just give a message that it says, let's proceed as discussed. So, be specific and rephrase it as, please share any questions, and by give a definite time by EOD today. Like during a training or a session, we say, that's all from my side. No, you should be asking your audience any if they have any confusion, and for that you should always be open for the Q&A sessions. So does anyone have questions or inputs before we move to the next section? While delegating a task, we just be affirmative and say complete this by Monday. Is it clear? No. What we should do, please complete this by Monday, the tonality of your message, and confirm once done. We'll review the process on Tuesday morning. What did we do? A simple rephrasing has totally changed the way it will be perceived by the recipient. Now, say during a client interaction, we just said we'll go ahead with the plan. But what plan? You should always, even for the last of your message, be precise on it. Like, say, please confirm if the proposed approach works for you, and if there are any changes required. If not, what do we do? The person will say, if it is required, the person will say, yes, you can make these changes. If not, he will say, yes, let's go ahead with it. But it would be specific. Now let's come to a performance discussion in which we say these are our expectations. But is it measurable? No. So how do we rephrase it? Do these expectations seem achievable? I'd appreciate your thoughts before we finalize, so that we make it time saving. So what is the key takeaway from rule number 7? Communication is complete only when feedback is received and actions are followed up. Two things: feedback and action. I'll repeat, communication is complete only when feedback is received and actions are followed up. Let's come to rule number 8. Be courteous and professional. Remember, again, the 7 C's, the last C we had was being courteous. So use respectful language, manage your emotions, especially during the conflict situations. And remember, as we have discussed in the previous rule as well, give constructive feedback, not criticism. So during a follow-up communication, we ask the person, why haven't you responded yet? Very derogatory. How to make it courteous and professional? Just following up on my earlier email, please let me know if any clarifications are required. Now, managing or declining, saying no. How do we do that? Straight away, I said, I can't do this. No, please replace it with a valid reason that I won't be able to take this at the moment due to my current priorities. Now we are giving a feedback, and the person tells me this presentation is not good. What is it? It's being blunt. So, how do we do that? The structure is clear. A few refinements in the data presentation could make it even stronger. Again, courteous and professional. So, what is the key takeaway from rule number 8? Professionalism is not reflected in what you say, but how you say. I'll repeat, Professionalism is reflected not just in what you say, but how you say it. Let's come to rule number 9, which is remove barriers to communication. Again, we have discussed this in ample in our previous session of business communication. So I'll just be quick here. So identify and eliminate whatever obstacles we have, which is preventing our messages to be clearly understood. Remember to simplify, verify the understanding, and make communication a two-way process. Like, say, for example, we have a language barrier. How it has happened, we have used some jargon for a non-technical audience. So avoid it by using a simple language and plain key terms. Like, there was a physical barrier with respect to a noisy environment. How do we do it? How do we remove it? We move to a quieter environment or schedule a call. Now, talking about the psychological barrier, few people have fear of speaking to the authority or because of the past experiences. So, always encourage open discussions and reassure the feedback is welcome. So, this is more of our coffee chats, the open houses, the lunch meetups. Why are the corporates more into this nowadays? Just to remove these psychological barriers. Now, assuming everyone shares the same cultural norms, that is a cultural barrier. And how do we remove it? Be culture sensitive and always ask if there is any clarifications which are expected and be open to it. Now, let's talk about the perpetual barrier. Remember our example in our previous session in which we had taken it as the article told client a certain observation, but client would not perceive it with the same level of understanding when the same thing comes out of the mouth of the senior partner. So, always listen being non-judgmental. Listen without biasness and ask clarifying questions if any. Now let's talk of a technological barrier that due to poor connection, are not able to have our virtual meetings. So always test check your connections and have a plan B in case of a important one. So what is the key takeaway? Clarity comes from removing barriers. I will repeat, clarity comes from removing the barriers. Now, the last rule from the SMART rule book, which says continuous enhancement. Now, what is that? This means we should always be effortful to improve our skills, processes, and the outcomes through regular feedbacks and reviews. Always remember to be a lifelong learner. LLL. No matter what designation we have, no matter where we are at the on the hierarchy, but always be improvising within yourself. So reflect on what worked and what did not. That is more important. What worked, that's good, but what did not work needs to be taken care of on immediate basis so that we don't lose any time or any funds in it. Always seek feedback on your communication style and most importantly, be consistent with your practice. So, like, what is the learning and improving part on the communication? Like, refine your emails for clarity and tone, improve structure based on the feedback for detailed understanding on this. Again, refer to our session on emails and WhatsApp communications. Next, during meeting and presentations, we should always have shorter meetings with clear outcomes so that we have enhanced slides for every sessions. Now, during the work processes, always remember to review workflows after each project and always implement small and regular improvements. Now, for professional growth, always act on feedback, and we have said amply during the session as well that take criticisms as a constructive feedback and try to improvise. So, continuous improvement drives long term excellence. That is the key takeaway from this rule. I will repeat, continuous improvement drives long term excellence. So, always be a LLL, lifelong learner. So, what is the golden rule for effective business communication? Always remember that we should have a clear message, the right audience, constructive feedback, and an appropriate channel. With this, I conclude my today's presentation and always remember to communicate every time with clarity, purpose, and action. Thank you from my side.
Very wonderful, and thanks a lot, ma'am. Like very well, you explained the overall topic, the 10 rules, very smartly. And thank you so much to ma'am giving you valuable time today and also joining us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you.